Hey guys, it's Sins, and we are back with more Virche Evermore. God, I love this game. Anyway, Cyan showed up last time and was like, I'm taking this bitch, and got a royal decree to basically say he's taking this bitch, so I'm okay with this. Alright? Now Lucas wants to come along into our man harem. He just invited himself, which is like, I mean, that's cool, sure, but kind of curious now because now you're going to be around, and are you going to be around? Are we ever going to see you and Boreal in the same place at the same time? Because if we do, that's going to throw off my whole theory. But if we don't, it might just enhance the theory. You know what I mean? And again, my only reason for thinking that it's Lucas is like, I mean, obviously, it feels like there's something against relivers. Okay. But it's the posing of the sprite is what it is. You know what I mean? I mean, it would make more sense that it's like a side character or something, or totally a random other character, but the poses. Two of them are absolutely Lucas poses. So, like, did they do that as, like, well, we're just gonna, that's your hint? Or we're gonna do that so then you think it's Lucas, but it's really not. You know what I mean? We'll find out. We will find out. If we ever see Lucas and Boreal in the same place at the same time, then we're like, okay, maybe not. But, anyway. Cyan's proposal was to strategize how to capture Boreal within a specific period of time. First was finding a base of operations, but we couldn't use the orphanage or Karun office with the other residents nearby. We brainstormed a location and, it's just a shame we don't know anyone who's just got a mansion with tons of fucking rooms. What was I saying in the last part when I was like, we should just all move into the man harem? And then, are we going to all move into the man harem? Like, I was like, we should use Mathis's house. We could all live there. That's our Saint Germain mansion. Like, are we going to all move into Mathis's house? Eve brought up a place he said would be perfect, thus leading us to. Or Hugo's out. No, Hugo got kicked out. Oh, okay. No. It's a Dollface house. I was like, I forgot my volume was up. I was like, holy shit, what happened? Why my place? I'm really sure. Okay. If it's happening mostly in Cheetahs, I mean, I get it. Eve's got to kind of stay in here for his job and stuff like that. But it's kind of like I'm just saying, Mathis has rooms. We're all gonna sleep on that couch together? You know what? Never mind. So we're going to throw down a nice bunch of pillows, blankets, all sorts of shit, and just puppy pile on the floor? Because I was gonna question that. Like, my thought was, we're just gonna sleep with actually good idea. So, like, I'm just expounding my thought process for you, because I'm sure we were all thinking it. We're all just gonna curl up together and snuggle, and yeah, I do not have problems with this. This sounds like a brilliant fucking idea. Let's do this. Adolphe groaned with his head in his hands. Eve was back in his casual attire and smiled at Adolphe. My volume just cranked.
Well, you see, your place is on the outskirts of town, isn't it? And there are no other houses around, so I figured we could avoid any unintended casualties if something were to happen.
And the real truth is,
I haven't come here for a while, so I figured why not.
Let me remind you that you've used the same reason to barge in here with Hugo to drink all night and stay until morning.
But you enjoyed the drinks that we brought that night, didn't you?
I guess they really are friends. Yeah, that's the best kind of man harem friends, is like when they're like, whatever. Guess. And now we brought in our bitchy boyfriend, Cyan, where he's just gonna worm his way. They're gonna be so frustrated and annoyed with him, but they're gonna love him anyway. It was surprising to me, since I always thought of Adolphe as someone who liked being alone. He might like being alone, but you're forcing yourselves on him.
And this place is much smaller than the Institute. I suppose I can bear it here for a few days.
Wait, you shouldn't take so much space without consent of the owner. Cyan had thrown all of his papers and books onto the floor and went right for the sofa upon his arrival. Dad?
Excuse me. I hope everyone's doing well. Jean went to the orphanage and heard that you were here to set up a plan to capture Borio. So would it be possible for me to join too? I promise I won't act out of line again.
He's the one with the mansion. There's just got rooms upon rooms upon rooms that are empty, but we're all gonna cram into this tiny, tiny. Look! For God's sake, Adolphe sleeps in a fireplace. Okay, there's like the little. That must be the kitchen off there to the right. I mean, the left. There is a standing fireplace, but basically, Adolphe's fucking room is literally like a hurt. Like, it looks like he just carved out the fireplace and stuffed a bed in there. And then was like, nah, I put a freestanding stove over here because I use the fireplace as like a bed nook. Like, that's not even a bedroom. Like, you can't even sit up in the bed in that. What the fuck? And we're gonna... Oh my god! This is fucking ridiculous! This makes no sense whatsoever, and I love it so much. Oh my god. Oh my god. This is great. Mathis had managed to find his way here in the hopes of joining the group. My head hurts. This is why this game bamboozles you, because it's like so ridiculously absurd. All these little things and the way the characters interact is so good, and then it's really gonna hurt me later. Oh my god. I should give him some painkillers. I quietly took out a medicine kit from my luggage. Where are we going to sleep? That bed's gonna be tight with all of us in there. Cyan began the discussion. Well, Cyan began the discussion. By tossing us a bunch of papers containing the results from the autopsy.
It was easy enough to find out why Borio was after the corpses. I simply looked at his order of attack.
Order?
Yes. Now let's assume Borio first tried to mutilate the bodies. He'd then go after the guards there and kill every last one of them. What do you think would be on those bodies?
Flesh and blood from the bodies that he first mutilated.
Well, the situation would be the opposite if he went after the royal guards first.
Cyan nodded in agreement.
But that only makes matters more confusing. Why would Borio go after the dead bodies first?
Has there been a similar incident like this in the past? Mathis shook his head. It seemed Borio only went after live victims prior to this particular incident. If so, then perhaps this was a unique case.
Yes, could he be the one who caused the other deaths from before?
If his motive was the bodies themselves, that may very well be a possibility. Lucas raised his finger. Maybe he made them commit suicide by distributing some kind of hallucinogenic drug at the marsh. And he may have targeted the bodies to prevent an autopsy from being performed. If so, then there was a good possibility Adolphe and even the children at the orphanage might have been in danger. The mere thought made me shiver.
Stop making up baseless theories. We simply have to capture him to find out.
I mean, he's right in this room. Calls coming from inside the house!
If his purpose was to prevent the autopsy, then we can use it against him.
Cyan's plan was rather simple. The bodies from the first incident he wanted on Earth were still in their graves. So his plan was to spread a rumor that he brought the bodies from their families for the purpose of performing autopsies. That he bought the bodies. Okay, but... I mean, to be fair, the killer always involves themselves in the investigation, hence why Lucas involved himself in this one. But now we're telling him the plan, and he's here, and he's gonna know it's bullshit. But you think he's still gonna show up anyway, just to fuck their shit up, because he knows they can't beat him. You know what I mean? If Borio's purpose was to stop any autopsies, then he'd show up at some point to prevent that from happening. The rest was for us to lie in wait so that we could capture him the moment he appeared. We'd lure Borio using false rumors.
The reason I purchased the bodies has to be something personal. For example, that I perform autopsies as a hobby. Without approval to bring the bodies to the Institute, I had to bring them here instead. We'll leave some dummies outside as bait. What? Bodies outside sounds like it's too obvious.
And we can pitch a tent behind my place and bring the dummy bodies there.
Well, I can get that ready on my end. I'm sure I have one in storage from a previous overnight shift.
And that still feels a bit too obvious.
And this guy killed all the Royal Guard's soldiers at once, you know. He was determined to destroy the dead bodies, so I'm sure he'll come to do the same, even if there's a chance that it's a trap.
If that's the case, then I believe we should begin planning how to capture him when he appears. I couldn't believe how quickly things were moving. I can't believe that... I'm very, curious how this is gonna go, because, you're making me not really doubt that Lucas is still Borio, but, now I am questioning it, but I still think it's him. And I'm, questioning how they're gonna play this out, if it really is him, huh? I didn't need to say anything at all. He's gonna be over here dusting this bookshelf. On the other hand, I was so focused on the operation that I forgot to ask for details concerning my part. So, when is this plan expected to begin? I'd like to get some daily necessities ready so that everyone can move accordingly.
It'll take at least 3 days to make convincing dummy corpses in secret. Let's see. I suppose everyone can prepare themselves however they like until then. Considering the assailant caused quite a stir with the Royal Guard, I believe it's safe to assume he'll lay low for the time being. Not to mention, Borio doesn't strike off in any way.
Lucas smiled and began to speak. That seems sus right there! Lucas smiled and began to speak. You know what? Nobody asked you, Clark Kent. He's the Superman of murderers. To keep our guard up, but being on constant alert's not good for the mind. In particular, Eve and Adolphe. You both must be tired after the previous fight and your recent night patrol. Perhaps you should rest until the time comes. Well, that's...
Well, the Corps have to be on high alert with things as they are. We can't rest now.
I only wish to encourage you to look after your health, given that you two are doing more than the others. I agree with Lucas. The last time you two had time to rest was when you were at the hospital. It's not like your wounds have fully healed yet. I think it's better you two rest and recover so that you're ready for next time. It's like all our friends are here except for Anko. Riki's gonna roll up, knock on the door, they're gonna be like, who are you?
I'm the Watchman of Death, and I'm just here because she's here, and I figured it'd be fun.
I kind of forget that he exists sometimes, because, I
know I don't have the right to say this, but I don't think it's possible for you two to face Borio without resting.
The two of them grimaced, possibly remembering the fight that night.
You're right. Even if we do, we're still no match for him.
I guess we'll rest and train until then. Confronted with our concern and logic, the only thing they could do was nod in response. Sorry. With our direction now set, we might need to make some space to ensure everyone can sleep here. Adolphe, would it be alright if I tidied up the place just a bit? Yeah, thanks for the help. And just know that you'll be taking the bedroom, and the rest of us will sleep out here. Well, that's no fun. I was hoping we were going to have a puppy pile. I have no objections. Well, why don't we step outside for a moment so we don't get in her way? When she's finished, we can assist her with any other chores, and then go out to purchase any personal effects we might need. I'll also need to let someone know that I'll be out.
Let me know if there's anything I can help with. I don't want you to carry the burden alone.
Thank you very much. I'll ask you if I need any help then. Again, we're back to being the fucking bang maid, basically. Oh, I have to do the cleaning. Listen, I know I'm here because Scion was basically like, hey, you have to clean up after me because he's a lazy fuck. But the rest of you can fucking do some shit and help. This is not all, I mean, I guess, to be fair, I'm personally offended on the, oh, well, the girl's here just to clean up after the boys. What the actual foxy doodle is this? What the hell? No. But, I do understand. Okay, they're all plotting and planning and doing this, but, it's not okay, they need to rest, they're injured or whatever, and you're going to go out and get supplies, you're going to do this, and then I'll take care of the cleaning. No, you're just going to stand outside with your thumbs up your ass while I fucking sweep this shit up. Get a fucking broom in your clean your own shit. Like, no. Oh, no. This is not. No. This is kind of bullshit. What the fuck? They had to write a way for her to be involved, and this was the only way they could think to do it? I mean, Cyan coming up and being like, I have a royal decree. She's got to clean up after me because I'm a lazy fuck. Okay, that makes perfect sense, but what's the rest of your excuses? What's the rest of you? Mathis does not clean up after himself. He's got a maid. A butler. Whatever. He's got Jean. Okay? But the rest of you chuckle fucks are capable of doing this shit. Okay, you're capable of washing one of you assholes can go in there and wash the dishes. Somebody else can go find some like pillows and blankets and shit. Like this could be a group effort. Well, aside from the two idiots who don't know how to do anything for themselves. But you know what I mean? Come on. Before we start cleaning, I'd better confirm something important. Ask about food supplies, ask about bedding. I feel like bedding, to be fair, because like we can go out and get if you're gonna make me go do the grocery shopping after cleaning while you sit outside with your thumbs up your ass drinking beer and yucking at each other, I'm gonna be fucking livid, game. Jesus. What the hell? We're like the harbinger of death. We kill people just by looking at them, but I gotta be relegated to like cooking, cleaning duty. I mean, maybe cooking because they can't. Fine. Okay, fine. Okay. But like, you can't even go get the groceries? What the shit? Eve is a handyman who could do anything. He babysits kids. Pretty sure he's capable of dusting. So like, why am I doing all this? I'm going to ask about bedding because unless it's food supplies is like, you guys go out and get the food supplies. I could see that, but. Okay, it is food supplies. Damn it. I was safe to assume Adolphe only had enough here for himself, which meant food supplies must be limited. Adolphe, can I check your pantry to see how much food you have here at the moment? Yeah, go right ahead. He's like, I have 2 cups of ramen noodles. I see. So this is the list of what we need.
For at least 3 days. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 6 people. I'm not surprised the list is so long. It's probably a bit risky for you to shop for groceries at the marsh now, so we'll go and get them.
It's about fucking time one of you decided to do something useful. No, you don't. You two need to make rest your top priority. It's only some shopping. We'll be fine. I knew you'd say that, but I'm still worried.
How about if we take my car then? It can carry a great deal and make transportation a lot easier.
No, we're good. And taking a car will attract the attention of everyone in Coen.
Right. I'm sorry I can't be of much help.
At least he offered.
And then allow me. But you just said you needed to let someone know you were going to be out. No need to worry about us. Please prioritize what you had planned.
It won't take us more than 2 trips.
Very well. And then if you don't mind, though I will help once I return.
Mathis, I want you to keep an eye on that loafer who has no desire to help. I mean, to be fair, Cyan is being true to himself here.
I suggest you remain vigilant and keep a knife on hand just in case. Okay, understood.
From the way things sounded, Adolphe and Eves really were the... Eves? Why do I keep saying that? God damn it, that fucked up. Anyway, really were the only ones who could go and do the grocery shopping. Are you really sure?
Yeah, we'll be fine. In any case, too much rest will slow us down, so it's better we stay active.
Understood. Then please just keep it within reason. If either of you feels sick or unwell, please come back here or go to the hospital as soon as you can, okay? And don't worry so much about us shopping. They talked to each other about who would buy what as they headed out to the marsh. 2 hours later.
And there. I think this should be about everything we need.
And took us 3 trips to get everything. I mean, seriously, they didn't just carry bushels and baskets. They carried, like, barrels. Good God. Thank you so much. You two should rest for the day. They were going to make me do this on my own. I was going to take 82 trips. I went outside to greet them as they returned with bags of groceries.
Let me help carry some of them inside.
Mathis quickly followed behind me when... He let out a gasp and turned pale upon seeing Eve.
Eve, your arm is bleeding.
Huh? I looked more closely and discovered a bit of red seeping through Eve's clothes.
I guess my wound opened up when I lifted the groceries.
We have to treat it right away. Isn't that the one you got from Borio?
No, I'm not bleeding too badly. I'm fine. Let's get everything inside first and...
We'll carry everything inside. Let me get some medicine and bandages. Mathis, can you please lead Eve inside and make sure he doesn't make a run for it?
Okay, just leave it to me. I'll make sure he doesn't escape. Huh? No need to waste good medicine and bandages. It'll heal by itself in no time. Even so...
I'm sorry, Adolphe. I'm gonna leave the groceries here for a moment. Adolphe can manage to bring them inside. You go and rest if you're tired, okay? Yeah. Okay. I'm just... Why are we babying these men? Okay, I understand, like, Eve's bleeding, so we're like, oh shit, let's take care of this. Okay, fine. And they did just get their asses handed to them, like, a day ago. So, like, I get that, I guess. But it's the, like, oh my god, they can't get the groceries. Oh my god, they can't bring it in. But I'm gonna fucking clean up after these motherfuckers and do it. Like, I understand being concerned, but I feel like we're being a little crazy here. Like, okay, let's take care of Eve's bleeding, sure, but like, Adolphe, can you just, like, take a rest for a minute, because you had to take 3 trips. That's tiring, sure. You're supposed to be resting, okay, but like, he could, like, carry in a clove of garlic here and there. You know what I mean? Like we were gonna end up doing all of this ourselves. You know damn much. I should have done this on top of all of the clean. If you were gonna do that, then I'll go get the groceries. It's gonna take me 32 trips, but you can push a broom around. That's less labor intensive, but you can manage it. But like, I'm not your fucking mom. What the fuck? I know it's supposed to be because they were both injured, and I suppose I should be a little more like concerned about that. But it's still like, but they're like I just. It would be one thing if they were like limping or whatever, bruised. Like, I don't know what I think it's just the trigger that it's like, I'm just here to cook and clean and do all the housework because God forbid a man does it. And it's aggravating, even though it kind of makes sense that, like, we're telling them to rest and everything because they're both injured and they're going to be doing the heavy lifting and, like, fighting Borio and, like, whatever. But, like, it's still a little frustrating. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God. She and Mathis are a lot stronger now than before. Eve, on the other hand, is as usual. I know his wounds won't heal so easily, and I know I can help, but I'm not in the best shape myself. My oh my. How delightful to be greeted by so much delicious-looking food. You're here. Yes, I am. Thanks to everyone, I was able to take care of my personal agenda. So, do you need help carrying these inside? Yeah, but we don't have enough manpower. I know it's in the way, so just step around. Here we go. It's hard to keep my balance with so much in my arms at once. As thanks for earlier, please allow me to take these to the pantry. He's gonna be like, oh my god, yeah, okay, so this is just, listen. Alright. Take back my ranting. We had to leave the groceries outside and do it so that we could see that Lucas is super fucking strong, even though everybody thinks he's wayfish. And that's just furthering my, are you sure you're not Borio? Because I'm, okay. Okay. So that's another, like, check mark on the sus side, okay? It's like I know. Technically, even Dolphy are injured, but it's just, normally, it probably wouldn't bother me so much, but it's the only we're brought here to clean. They couldn't clean. Like, they ended up doing stuff. It's like, okay, you guys go out and get the groceries, whatever. Just don't overwork yourselves because I know you're injured. But it's like, I was gonna end up probably having to do it myself. Like, what the fuck? Huh? You're saying Lucas carried all the groceries himself, and all at once too. They sus as fuck. Adolphe entertained us with a joke just as I was bandaging Eve's wound. He nodded in response to my question, at which point Eve and I both smiled. Really? You sure like joking about our old teacher, Adolphe.
You both took the groceries to the pantry, right? Thanks for that. Sorry I couldn't help. Next time I'll help. The flour must have been heavy, especially heavy. You sure your arms are all right?
Ahem. And not to worry, Adolphe was kind enough to do the heavy lifting. Why am I always the one around when he does these things? But remember, what was it he was doing in the, Oh, right. I mean, we already knew he was super strong because he busted Eve's rib. And he was like, no, it was Lucas. And they're like, yeah, okay, sure, buddy. And now he's like, he did that. And it's like, oh my God. It's like Lucas is gaslighting Adolphe. He's like, see, I'm super strong. Now you've been around twice when I've done this and no one's going to believe you. Because look at me. I'm just so wayfish and delicate. Wow. Kind of interesting, actually. I kind of forgot about the rib breaking, but you know what I mean? Like, before, I wasn't associating him with that until it was like, well, no, because like, the broken rib came before Borio popped out and everything like that and whatever. I think they mentioned the broken rib, though. No, that was separate. They were talking about the broken rib when he came back from the field or whatever. And then the hospital thing, I was trying to think about in the hospital after they got attacked by Borio, right? But I don't think they mentioned it then. So, like, I kind of disassociated the two in my mind without using that as an example of, like, see, Lucas is super strong, so believable. But anyway. And it's interesting now that he's gaslighting Adolphe with this shit. With our daily necessities taken care of, I was able to clean the place myself. It didn't take more than a few minutes. Phew, that should do the trick. I asked Adolphe beforehand what should be kept and what could go. After sweeping the dust into a dustpan, I wiped down the rest of the surfaces. The place is cleaner now, so they'll only need to push aside the furniture to sleep. Still, this place looks a bit too cramped for 5 to sleep next to each other. Okay, who wants to sleep with me on night 1? And then some on night 2, and then some on night 3. We only get 3 people that get to sleep with me, though. I felt guilty about getting a room all to myself under these conditions. Then again, considering I attracted bad luck, it was better to keep my distance from them. I like, though, that she's not like, I am a woman and men are wolves and I shouldn't be around them to sleep. It's like, I might injure them if they're near me. Good for you. Good for you. Because she's like, I might injure them if they're near, especially if it's night. I might pounce them in the middle of the night. So maybe he should keep his... The best I can do for them now is make sure they can do what they need to do without worrying about much else. This was the job that I signed up for. Well, you were told. You were voluntold. Once everything had been cleaned, I asked them to check if everything was all right, and they were fine with the results. I like again, can you just make sure that my cleaning is to your taste? If you don't like it, fucking do it yourself. Eve had been in contact with Hugo during this time, and Mathis was in contact with Jean. They told Hugo and Jean about the operation, arranged for a tent to be brought, and asked them to get things ready to spread the rumor.
Well, we already contacted the families of the bodies, and we'll explain to them what we're going to be doing tomorrow. Hugo and I will also fine-tune our plan of spreading the rumor.
I see. Good work. I have to admit I'm impressed. It's good to have pawns who can take action on their own instead of waiting for instructions. It seemed no one was willing to respond to the way he called them pawns. Adolphe stared at Cyan as he flipped through one of his books from the shelf. Noticing the book he was going through, Mathis spoke up.
Cyan, just out of curiosity, is that book you have there about the Drifter?
Cyan nodded in response, then closed the book. I wanted to read what was inside, but it's lacking. Aren't there any books that aren't mass-produced for commoners? And this is a commoner's home. And what kind of book were you expecting to find?
But he's right. That story of the Drifter is one that's known throughout the country. Now that you brought it up, the story's so old that it's treated like a fairy tale, but... Well, it's a history book, and what's written inside is fact, right?
Well... Fact that's probably been adjusted and adapted over time, but is it 100%? Questionable. You know what I mean? I guess it really depends. Because I'm a guess, sometimes you're going to look at fact from place A and fact from place B, and they're not exactly going to equal each other, you know? I knew a little about the subject as well. I learned about it in class before, too. It was back when we didn't have liver technology, and the people could only live until they were 23 years old. Oh, and something about countries beyond the ocean, where the people can live well beyond 80 years without becoming a reliver. There's stories of the elders who end their lives peacefully with wrinkles on their skin and their hair all white. In the history books, they talk about how the drifter came from another land to tell everyone about how humans normally age.
That's right.
Mathis's eyes sparkled as he jumped into the conversation.
There's something I wanted to ask Cyan in regards to that.
His usual shyness suddenly disappeared. Mathis struck up a conversation out of curiosity with the yawning Cyan.
Cyan, I wanted to ask, you were working on developing reliver technology. Is it true you learned the information you needed to establish that technology from the drifter?
So that's your question. Maybe Cyan is the drifter.
I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but even if I am the oldest reliver around, that's chronologically impossible.
Cyan shrugged and explained that the drifter came well over 100 years ago. Okay, so it's not him.
Still, you're onto something. My grandfather was the one who acquired the knowledge from the drifter.
This was over 100 years ago. For as long as Arpachel had been in existence, it had been isolated in the midst of rough waters. With no connection to the outside world, no one in the country knew that they were cursed to only live for 23 years. But one day, a man who had come to be known as the Drifter was carried here by the strong currents. During his stay, he met a scientist and relayed the irregularity of living for only 23 years. This land is possessed by the Grim Reaper. I don't know who the Drifter is, but I wonder who voices the Drifter and if that gives you any clue onto who they are. You know what I'm saying? Or... His words quickly spread across the land, and soon enough, the people started to mourn the curse put upon them. It was then that the scientist, Cyan's grandfather, asked the Drifter, "Isn't there any way we can overcome this curse of death?" Even though nobody sounds old in this because nobody's old, but whatever. The Drifter answered, "I don't know, but I do know a way you can fight the outcome. Reading and applying the information written within these books may help you in your journey towards success." The Drifter brought out 4 books. These 4 books were said to contain knowledge from around the world. Among the array of information, the scientist discovered hope in the concept of genetics, memory recording, and cloning technology. He decided to study those 2 subjects in an effort to extend one's lifespan by reviving as the same person after death.
Unfortunately, my grandfather didn't achieve any results. My father continued, but passed away without much luck either. My father insisted that I take over, and being that I was bored beyond belief, I used what I could from their notes to develop the technology to create relivers.
It's funny because, again, your grandfather would have only lived to 23 and then died. Your father would have only lived to 23 and then... So your father would have picked up where his father... There would have been a gap, because it's not like... You know what I mean? Even if you were 15 having kids, would have been 8 when your dad died, at 23 if they lived the longest, and then Cyan picked it up and managed to do it finished the shortest period of time. It's obviously your grandfather worked on it, had some information, your father added to it, you picked it up and tweaked it and made it work right. You know what I mean? It's not like Cyan was the only person who did it. His father and grandfather worked on it, but there was an overlap. It's not oh, my grandfather, father, and I were all working on it together, because there's no physical way for that to happen, because the reliver technology didn't exist, so they would have died without other bodies. So what was Cyan, 7 maybe? Working on this shit, before his dad died? It's weird because they don't really talk about that or delve into it, but it's mean, the concept of parents and grandparents don't work the way you think they work. So, like, you either rarely ever knew your parents, definitely never knew your grandparents, unless they were relivers, but before this period. Sion wouldn't have really known his grandfather, probably ever. He would have died long before he was born, and he would have been a child when his dad died. So it's like so weird that they don't really talk about that, really. You know? I guess they're like, it is a weird thing when you die at 20, just talk about it. People can do the math, or just don't, I guess. You know? Because it's like, there's a weird question here, but anyway.
I used what I could from their notes to develop the technology to create relivers.
So again, okay, it was probably he picked it up at one point after his dad was dead. Bored beyond belief.
So this country's lifeline was developed as a way to pass the time.
We looked at each other, perplexed by the odd truth behind the technology.
But I'm actually happy to know that the legend was true. But if I recall correctly, Drifter stops appearing in stories from then onward, right? What happened to him?
Who knows?
Huh? He disappeared after an argument with my grandfather, days after giving him the books. Ah, so that's why he suddenly disappears from the story.
He could still be here. Maybe it's Anko.
I assume there was some kind of dramatic event behind his disappearance.
Mathis's head lowered with disappointment.
Considering the situation, it sounds like he simply found a home in this country. Well, I mean, we've always been isolated from other countries, so it's not like there's a way to leave.
But there was a way for him to get here.
I agree. Other countries avoid this place due to the curse, so I doubt the Drifter had much assistance from outside. In fact, the only person who actually came here from the outside was the Drifter.
Unless it's Lucas. But, like, Lucas being the Drifter and Boreal seems far-fetched. Like, that's too much to put on him, you know what I mean? Drifter, too. He brought with him 4 books with knowledge from around the world, but went missing sometime after his arrival. Sion's grandfather received the Book of Genetics, which became the foundation of reliver technology. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it could be Anko. It's probably not Mathis if he's totally interested in the Drifter, because it's a little more, it's not interest like, oh, hey, what do you know about him? It's more like, oh. You know what I mean? It's more like super excited fangirl than it is like, oh, I'm curious what you know, because it's me, I'm hiding a secret, you know? And I doubt it's Adolphe because we know him from the orphanage. It wouldn't be Eve because we remember him saving us as a child. Okay. The Drifter could just be a random person, but I'm just saying if it was anyone else, it's not Sion. You know what I mean? Because he just said my grandfather, like, okay, it was 100 years ago. I never met him. I don't think it would be Lucas because I still think Boreal and Lucas are the same person. So Boreal, Lucas, and the Drifter being the same person is a lot. So the only one of our love interests left would be Anko. You know. Now, or they just died because reliver technology didn't exist when they came here. So technically, unless you've got magic, because, like, to be fair, Lucas, I don't think is a reliver, hasn't done that yet. I don't think any of them have except for Sion. Anko's like the Watchman from Hell, so he's a special case. But the rest of our boyfriends, nobody else has become a reliver. Nobody's gone through the process. So Lucas hasn't gone through the process, and it's coughing and everything. So it's safe to say that the Drifter probably isn't anybody that we know. You know what I mean? Again, unless they're a reliver and they're a side character. Could be Hugo. You know what I mean? Because nobody really fits except for Lucas, but Lucas having 3 identities would be weird. And if reliver technology didn't exist, then the Drifter would have to be some kind of magic. So it could be Anko in that case. Because they wouldn't have been able to become a reliver and stay. They probably would have succumbed to the curse like everybody else. Because if not, what makes them special? They came from someplace else, so. But it sounds like it's the flowers. I mean, we don't really know what causes everyone here to die at 23. So the reliver could be one of those people like, yeah, no. I mean, not the reliver. The Drifter could be like, yeah, I never died because, like, whatever. But it was over 100 years ago. Natural lifespan would have ended. right? So, anyway, I don't know. I'm just trying to think around, like, if the Drifter is actually, like, a character. Or it's just, like, a figment, like a historical character, or an actual character that we're gonna meet or have met or something. You know what I mean? Chances are they're probably dead because of the curse, or it's Onko. You know what I mean? So,
I don't believe there's been another exception until now.
that's a pretty sad thought. He couldn't return to his homeland despite finding his way here by accident. Huh. Wait a minute. Does that mean there's a chance his bloodline is somehow alive in this country? He may have had a family here long ago. Okay, that's interesting, though. The Drifter might have died, but the bloodline might be. And maybe that blood. Okay, Lucas could be related, and that's why he's got, like, superhuman powers or some shit. You know what I mean? Just the thought of it felt romantic. I just remembered something that bothered me when I was a kid. Of the 4 books that the Drifter gave, 1 was used. But what happened to the other 3 books? Ryan grimaced at Adolphe's question, then responded in a slightly bothered tone.
My grandfather apparently said he wasn't interested in anything apart from the curse. So he shoved those 3 books back to the Drifter.
Even Lucas grinned as if they agreed it was something Cyan's grandfather would do.
But what was important back then was extending people's lifespans, so he must have been singularly minded about it. In fact, there hasn't been much advancement in fields apart from medicine and life sciences. As a teacher, I'm rather interested in knowing what those other books were about. If his grandfather didn't take them, there may be a chance they're in some secondhand bookshop somewhere.
Lucas smiled playfully and asked that we let him know if we happened to find them. So I'm intrigued. So they mentioned 3 other books, so I feel like that's going to come into play. With the history lesson over, everyone continued getting their personal belongings settled in the house. With so many things to be done, we decided to postpone discussion of our plan until tomorrow. We ended up having some free time to ourselves later in the evening. Some were resting, while others were training to face Boreal. In my case, I'm done with the cleaning, so I really don't have anything to do now. It's been a while since I've been to Adolphe's house. I may walk outside for a bit. Go out into the garden, go out into the field. Okay, I don't know. And they're both, I feel, one, it's not like a way to respond to someone. You know what I mean? Like, where we're responding and we're saying, I agree, I disagree, yes or no, or thank you, type of a thing. And this is like, we're making a choice to go someplace, and I feel like that's going to lead us somewhere. I feel like if we go someplace, we're going to be somewhere. But you know what I mean? I just feel like the choice of go to the garden, and then that's going to be where we see characters 1, 2, and 3. And we go to the field, and that's where 4 and 5 are. You know what I mean? I feel like that's going to trigger a path split, maybe? I don't know. Yeah, okay. That's also where our save file 3 is. So this will be okay, so that's what yeah. Okay. I'm going to save over this one. That was an old save, but okay. So now we have all of our save files, and I scrolled up, we go to the garden. So that's kind of what I was thinking. So going to the garden, maybe, I know that we're going down Mathis's route, so maybe this goes to Mathis. Whereas if we go out into the field, that's where we find Cyan or something. You know what I mean? So, of course, I also know in the title, when you first go into the game, there is a flow chart. So, you know, I would assume here there's a split between the garden and the field, depending on which characters or whatever. Because I don't think in save file 3 you get a bad ending. Maybe you do. I don't know. Maybe the field is a bad ending. And garden is everybody else, like I don't know, whatever. Anyway, I decided to head out to the garden. Eve made a living by working 2 jobs. Likewise, Adolphe's secondary source of income was growing vegetables around his house and selling them at the marsh. The produce he sold was so fresh that they always sold out immediately. According to Adolphe, it was none other than Eve who taught him how to grow vegetables. Eve's pastime was tending to his garden, So he taught what he knew to Adolphe, who was looking for more work. As I was lost in my thoughts, suddenly Mathis's frail body came flying toward the house. See, and we're going to go down the Mathis route, but we only have 2 options, and there's supposed to be 3 routes that are unlocked, so I don't think this is forcing us into Mathis. Because also, okay, yeah, no, okay. Save file, I scrolled down more, I cheated. It says character select Mathis, so then I guess we get to choose which path we go down as opposed to our choices. So our choices in the common route only make a difference on whether we keep going or we basically get a bad ending. Okay, interesting. After bounding a couple times on the ground, he stopped just before hitting the house. Huh?
Ow.
Mathis? I hurried toward him. Mathis, are you all right? What happened? I propped up his dirt-covered body and checked to see if he was hurt. Don't tell me it's Borio! I glared and looked around the area, but Mathis got up from my arms and gave a weak smile.
No, that's not it. I'm sorry to surprise you like this. It's just training. That's all.
Huh?
Oh, you defended yourself well. I kicked you hard enough so you should have hit the wall.
Seriously, can they at least give a little bit of ass to these motherfuckers? Like, Zion's back is all twisted. He should have a fucking, like... I mean, okay, so, like... me analyzing a fucking sprite ass. But that's what we're doing. Like, I mean, I'm just saying, instead of it being a straight line from the middle of your back down, you can see a little cake. Like, he's got a little something in the little butt cheek there. His right. Our right. Also his right. The right butt cheek. Okay, he got a little curve. So I'm just saying a little bit. You could have just booped that out a little bit more, game. Drawing. Like, artist. Rude. Give him a little bit of ass, okay? I'm just curious because he's now just... He took his jacket off. But I like how he's got his little, like, potion satchel going on. Lion seemed to appear out of nowhere as he spoke. Okay, so maybe going to the... Here is Mathis and Cyan. But... I don't know, we'll see what happens when we get to the character select. That's probably going to give you the 3 that are open. Actually, all 3 of these are open right now. So... There you go. Behind him, Lucas was looking at Mathis with worry. What's going on?
As you can see, it's training. And though self-trained, I do know a thing or two about self-defense.
I love the fact that his shirt is so fucking rumpled. His buttons are all messed up, and you can see his shirt through the buttons, and it's like, you are so unkempt, and it literally, like, I love it. Because it looks like we've been fooling around, and we're like, what? No, we're messing around. He's not half disheveled because I wasn't ripping his shirt off, but that's exactly what it looks like, and I love it. My dirty mind is like, what were you doing? What was I doing to you in my sleep? Like, he just always looks that way, but...
I was practicing on my own when he came up to me, asking me to train him.
Mathis reached out to the dull knife he'd been using before slowly getting to his feet.
The last time made me realize how weak I am, so I wanted to become stronger before the operation begins. Zion is a scientist, but he's very strong. I couldn't see his kick earlier. Are you ready to give up? No. Once more, please.
Mathis, I do not blame you for begging Cyan for more. Same, bro, same.
Here I go. Ah!
With a roar, Mathis positioned his knife and ran towards Cyan head on.
I doubt it was a wise idea to inform your opponent that you're about to charge. Ugh.
Cyan kicked in a somewhat lethargic fashion, which was still strong enough to send Mathis back to the ground. I kind of like the fact that Cyan is just a lazy genius, but he's fucking lazy. But he is lazily kicking and he's still... I mean, Mathis is, like, delicate, okay? He's little. Although tall, but little and lanky, so I doubt he weighs a lot. Okay? And he might not be super tough, but Cyan is barely kicking. He's like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, just the laziest kick and is still knocking fucking Mathis across the room. Like, it's pretty fucking funny. Even so, Mathis stood up again and again to face his opponent. I winced at the sound of each blow landing on Mathis as I made my way toward Lucas. Is this really all right? It doesn't look like training to me.
And don't worry, despite how it looks, Cyan is holding back. I know this might sound rude, but I'm actually surprised by how well Mathis is able to endure these attacks.
He's doing well? Seeing that Mathis was completely on the defensive, it didn't seem to me like he was doing so well.
Mathis's physical strength and agility aren't up to Cyan's level, but in turn, it seems like he excels in making the right decisions and putting them to action quickly. He's been avoiding the heavy kicks and has made sure he only gets hit from the side.
Really? I wasn't a fighter myself, so I didn't see the difference between each strike. But even if he was avoiding heavy kicks, he was still getting injured. Soon enough, Mathis's knife was kicked away and he fell rear first on the ground. Cyan, when he has that haughty little fucking sprite, is just so beautiful.
I think that's enough. Mathis, any more and you're only going to hurt yourself. Okay. Cyan, thank you very much. I think I'm a little stronger now.
You're joking. If you really want to get stronger, ask Karun or the Corps for help. And they know more about skillful fighting than I do. Or you can ask the teacher here. Cyan rolled his shoulders as he turned his attention to Lucas. Huh? You mean Lucas? Have you unobservant fools not noticed? His stance, movement, and eyes betray his true skill. He's far stronger than he appears. And then Lucas is over there like, what? Me? Poor Adolphe's been like, I've been trying to tell people that, and they think I'm crazy. And then, like, Cyan's over there like, can you not fucking tell? I'm pretty sure he's the murderer. Like, I like that Cyan isn't fooled. Adolphe's not really fooled either. Adolphe's like, Lucas is pretty fucking strong. And Lucas is like, what? Nah. And everyone else is like, come on. This twink. And then, like, blow it off poor Adolphe. Me and Mathis, huh? Mathis and I stared at the beautifully delicate Lucas. See? I like it. He then chuckled with a lovely smile on his face. I am a teacher, after all. I've trained myself enough to be able to protect my students should the need arise. In fact, I can probably manage to carry Spacey and Mathis in my arms once around the country. Lucas spoke in a somewhat embarrassed tone, but the information I was hearing simply didn't match the gentle man in front of me.
You mean you'd need us to carry you?
Mathis, they look timid, but you sure can cut deep. Lucas kept his beautiful smile as if Mathis's words didn't bother him one bit. It doesn't, because he's like, I know what I can do. I chucked that knife right back at your face, bitch. Not gonna say that, though. You know what I mean? Ugh. Okay, we got a few minutes. Before long, the sun had completely set. And there you go. I'm just kidding. I was now faced with a predicament. If I'm here to help as a maid, then that means I'll need to cook too, right? I knew it was strange to be unsure when I was the one who asked everyone to buy groceries. Everyone would be returning inside soon. Considering how busy everyone was, I needed to make enough for everyone and then some. I knew that, but somehow, memories of the day I made breakfast for Milo and the children returned to mind. Perhaps I can ask someone else to cook for me. Or maybe I should ask one of them to buy something to eat from the mart. My mind began to come up with ideas. It's like I clicked, but it didn't. I slapped my cheeks with my hand to knock the negative thoughts out of my mind. I should get moving and prepare dinner already. I doubt they'll be that surprised, and they can decide for themselves whether they want to eat or not. And also, none of them give a fuck that you're quote-unquote deaf. They're like, yeah, okay, whatever. They don't care. If they refuse to eat what I made, I could eat it myself in portions for a few days. I rolled up my sleeves and headed into the kitchen. With the ingredients all set out, I started dicing the vegetables when... Oh, you started already. Eve came peeking through the entrance. In his hands was a huge box, and each time he took a step forward, I could hear water splashing from inside. Eve, what is that?
This is some food I brought from my place. I actually enjoy cooking too. So I figured while we're here, I should cook up a recipe I've had in mind for a while. I'll try not to get in your way. In fact, I'd be happy to help out. It's like a nice setup next to you.
Well, sure, if you don't mind. But I am curious what you have in there. What's inside?
Just fish.
Eve opened the top of the box with glee. He took out the small tank and showed me the fish swimming slowly around. You were gonna kill the poor innocent fishies? Oh, with his eyes closed like this, under his mask, you can see the red around his eye that's supposed to be like burn or whatever, but they just made it like fucking red. Like, I've never seen a fish like that before. Was it really a fish? It was strangely round with very different features from a normal fish. I'm sure he's humming. As Eves happily sharpened his knife, why do I keep saying that? I keep thinking like, Jesus Christ. Anyway, as Eve happily sharpened his knife, I wondered whether I was more curious than necessary. Maybe he got a fish that's rarely found at the market, but also, you have, instead of like, okay, I bought a fish from a fish market, it's a live fish, and then that's worse than it's already dead. Like, one, I don't want to get like a full dead fish and then cut it up. I don't want to have to do that, but I'm also not going to like fish out a live fish and then murder it. I mean, I know that's where fish comes from, and obviously, like, whatever. I just don't want to be the one to do it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm gonna eat chicken, but I'm not gonna go out, grab a chicken, and chop its fucking. I'm not gonna do that. You know what I mean? Like, I want and I'm not gonna like get a chicken, pluck it. You know what I mean? Like, there's a line, and I was like, I know where it comes from, but somebody else can do the dirty work. But like, Eve's gonna do that dirty work, and I'm like, no, I don't like that. And that was the case. I could see that he was preparing something special for everyone. I wonder what kind of recipe he has in mind with this fish. I can't wait. Based on how happy he seemed, I figured he must be a really good cook. Oh God, is he gonna be our Van Helsing where he's terrible? It'd be nice if I could watch him, but I needed to start cooking so that we had enough food on the table for everyone. All right, well, we'll stop here and find out if he's actually a goddamn brilliant cook or he's goddamn awful. Is he the impy or is he the Van Helsing of this group on the chef level? But anyway, I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.